In this video, we're going to pick up where we left off talking about functions, or excuse me, talking about classes. So if you haven't seen the classes video, then I highly recommend going back and looking at that. Otherwise, you'll be kind of lost at the start of this video. But so far, we have built a header. We have a header file, car.h. We've created some private data and some public methods, but we haven't actually implemented these methods anywhere. And so now we're going to talk about implementing those methods and then how to use them inside main. So in order to do this, we're going to go ahead and just create another source file. We're going to hit add, new item. We're going to add a CPP file, and we're actually just going to call it car.cpp. And in this, we're going to, include car.h. And we will go ahead and just do using namespace standard just for good practice, even though we probably won't end up needing it at this point. But what we can do inside this implementation file is what this is called, is we can actually implement like get wheels, get doors, set doors, all of our methods. This is where we should actually specify what these do. So this is exactly like working with functions, where these are prototypes in here. And this is where we will actually put those definitions, and then we will call them inside main or on the object. And so let's just start off with int get wheels. And so what we have to do here is we will specify the return type, and then we put the scope, meaning where or on what type of class or which class this function correlates with. So we'll put car, and then we put 2 colons. And these are actually, the 2 colons together is called the scope resolution operator. And what that means is it is resolving, saying that whatever comes after this is in the scope of what is before it. Meaning we can see get wheels is in the scope of car. So we'll say int car get wheels, and this is a function, so we put our parentheses. And right here, all we do is we say return wheels. Now, wheels is not some magic word, and it's not magically created via us saying get wheels here. This wheels refers to this wheels, or these wheels. This wheel, that works. Because we are inside the scope of the car class, we have access to all of the private data that is inside of car. And so we are able to simply return wheels. And now let's go ahead and we'll do our set wheels. And we do void, and then in the scope of car, set wheels. And this takes an integer, and we'll say, I believe we call it W in here, so we'll just keep with that. And then what we do is we say wheels equals W. And that's it. That's all we do for a getter, and that's all we do for a setter. Getters and setters should rarely be more complicated than that. If you want to put input validation inside of your getter, or excuse me, inside of your setter, meaning something like if W is less than or equal to, well, we'll just say less than 0. I guess a car could have 0 wheels. Then we can simply return. Or we can say if, maybe a better way of doing this is if W is greater than or equal to 0, then do wheels equals W. Otherwise, don't actually set it. You know, we could throw some sort of error or something like that. But I personally believe that all input validation should be handled client-side, meaning inside main. And so if we ever get to the point of calling set wheels, we should have already checked W to make sure that it is actually a valid number, which allows us to simply do wheels equals W. Once again, that's just programmer preference. I believe that that's the best way to do it, and I'm sure that there are people who will disagree with me, and that's just fine. So now we'll go ahead and just pump the rest of these out real quick. Int car, get doors, and return doors. Oops, not return do. Return doors, And we've got void car set doors and return, or excuse me, this takes an int d, and doors equals d, and void car get seats and return seats, and wow, I'm struggling here. Int seats get seats. There we go. Void. Now this is for set seats, and we're going to go ahead and take an int s, and we will say seats equals s. And there we go. So now we have our implementation file completed. We have our specification file completed. Now we have left is to mess with our, we often call this the client code, because this is what the user actually gets to interact with. Because when the user runs it, they run your program and main starts. And so we will do everything that the user can see or anything that's in public over on this side of the code in main. So now that we've created this object, we can go ahead and start doing things with it. So we'll do car dot, and let's just, right off the bat, we'll set wheels to 4. And car dot set wheels to 4. And car dot set seats, we'll also say 4. Or I guess we'll say 5, you know, a little half seat in the back. Now we can say this car has car.get wheels, wheels. And we'll just copy paste this down for get doors, which this should have been set doors, and get seats. And then we'll change this word right here to seats, and this word right here to doors. And we will go ahead and run it, and it will pop up and say this car has 4 wheels, this car has 4 doors, this car has 5 seats. Now notice, because we have set seats set to private, we can't simply say this car has car.seats, seats, seats, and then end line. This will come up and say error, remember car or seats inside car is inaccessible, because once again it's private, which is why we've created these get wheels, get doors, and get seats. This is basically how you split up, or how we use an implementation file, as well as a specification file and client file. This, once again, is how to create an object of type car. And so, just to reiterate that fact, we could do car2, car Cadillac, car with a big C, Saturn, you know, whatever. And we have just, this is the exact same as creating int num1. The only difference between these two lines is obviously the name of the variable, but is the data type, where car2 is of type car and num1 is of type int. Other than that, they are virtually the same statement. I'm creating a new variable with this name of this type. And it just so happens that this one's a car and this one is an int.